So we're here at our router doing the fluting, and the way that I set it up is you have a round-nosed quarter-inch bit in the router, and I have a couple of witness marks on the fence here. One is for the start point, is you lower it down with this line up at this mark, and then this mark here is what lines up at the back end when I'm finished my cut. You can see how these two that I did, I'm getting some burning at the bottom of it, and I tried to do it at the full depth, and I think what I ought to do is lower the bit to half the finished depth and then raise it up at the end, and hopefully that'll keep me from getting this burning. So we'll try it. The nice thing about this setup is that once you get it set up, you can run everything through very quickly. It goes fast. So I can do all 4 legs all in one shot. We want to take our legs, now that they're fluted, and make our mortises for where the rails will go in. Also, there's going to be a slot between each mortise that will accept a panel that'll fit in between the rails and the legs. The panel slot will be narrower than the mortises are, so we're going to use our slot mortise, our slot mortiser here, and I marked off where the cuts are to go, and from these lines I could set up the machine. And I put my stop block in place, and all I have to do is take each piece of wood and put it in there, and I can bore my first mortise. I came out to the shop this morning and realized I forgot my camera. Now, I had it up to 80 degrees in the shop, and it was -4 this morning. I just didn't feel like going out to get the camera back to the house. So I partially made my tenons, and I cut their thicknesses, and I began cutting their shoulders. I went in the house for lunch, so now I'm going to finish cutting the shoulders on all my tenons. And basically I used a tenoning jig to get this far, and I'm sure there's lots of videos on YouTube that'll show you how to do that, so pardon me for skipping that part. So a way that you can cut the shoulders of your tenons that doesn't require a whole lot of changing of your setup is to simply set the height correctly on your table saw, and then use the miter gauge to nibble away at it along its length until you've gotten a smooth line, and then flip it over and do the same. The way that you set it up is you start with your tenon slightly fat, and then you try to fit it into your mortise, and you just keep going back and bumping up your saw blade until it fits perfectly. And once you get it set, you can leave it that way. You can run every single one through it. So I've already reached that point. I'm just going to bang them out. Seem to be sized pretty well. When you're making square edged mortise and tenon joints like what I'm doing here, it's not a bad idea just to file off the corners of your tenons. You'll find it just makes them go together that much more easily. Something like a stray chip won't be as likely to get in the way of it. Now that we've finished our mortise and tenons, we still have to make our slot that the panels will go in, both on the legs and on the rails. So I've set up my router with a 3/8 inch bit. It's going to be slightly smaller than our 1/2 inch mortises. And like before, I've made the marks on the masking tape where I'm going to start it off here and finish it when this line lines up with that. And similarly, we want to route a groove into the bottom of all our rails. So I've set up the fence to have it be centered on this. We have to make sure to come in from the proper side because this is going to the top of this rail. The way to make sure that your groove is absolutely centered is to pass it through one direction, flip it around, pass it through the other from the other direction, and it'll center it perfectly. Well, this will give you an idea of the scale of what we're working with. I love doing dry assemblies. It's just fun to play with my Tinker Toys, but we have to make the panels fit in. Eventually we're going to make a drawer that'll fit in the end rather than the face of it. We have to make the top, and the turnings I'm going to save till last. And the turnings are going to be a little scary because usually you do it with fairly green wood. This wood is as dry as could be, and the danger with turning dry wood is that it might chip on you. So we're just going to go slow and see how it comes out. So the next step will be making the top and the panels.